Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Empowerment Code, Stories, Struggles, and Successes. My name is Anjlien Kumar. I am the Confidence Coach, and I'm going to be your host. Today's episode is supported by Conversations with Shannon, and our episode today is called Tsunami, Life After Murder. Our guest today is the incredible Shannon Miller. Thank you for being here with us. Shannon, you suffered a very brutal and traumatic loss in 2014. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. In 2014, April, my middle child, my daughter, my baby, Katie, was murdered at a house party. Her and 4 other young men.
And this was a highly publicized.
Very. It shocked. It was a shocking thing. It was, a huge magnitude, and the ripple effect of it just made it just a mountainous. The kids were at a house party. It was end of the university year, and it was a group of friends that they had for years and years and years, and somebody invited someone else, as happens at parties, and they weren't doing anything wrong, but it was near the end of the party, and a few of them went out to get some food, and a few of them stayed back, Katie being one of them. And unfortunately, one of the guests had a psychotic break. And within 2 to 3 minutes, the police believe he had murdered 5 people.
Within 2 to 3 minutes? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So when they recreated the crime scene and all of that, that's what they were.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, so the next morning I was driving to work, and I remember exactly where I was on the road, and I heard the newscast on the radio saying that there had been a murder at a house party. And I mean, there's lots of parties going on because it was end of university, right? But I knew that it was Katie. It just struck me in my heart so hard. But I was on a very busy road. I carried to work. I kind of told myself I was being ridiculous. What kind of mom was I to think such a horrible thing? Just go to work. And I was going to wait till 8:30 to call her, and because I knew she would be mad if I called her any earlier. And 8:30 never came. 8:21, her dad called me and said I needed to come to his house, and I knew then for sure.
So you hadn't been informed that when it happened or shortly after, you found out the next morning.
That's right. Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah.
So it was already on the news when you found out.
That's right.
Wow. That's got to be hard, because anything you hear about your family from someone else, and to hear that, wow, crazy.
It was crazy. And I mean, they didn't say any names on the radio, but I just knew.
Wow. What happened after that for you, your family?
Right. I remember the detectives telling us kind of what happened, the little bit that they knew. And all I remember is him moving his mouth, and I heard Katie murdered, dead. We were so crushed.
Okay.
And my family was very, very close. It was me and my 3 kids. And it wasn't.
It must have felt like a tsunami of questions, of just like when you don't believe it's actually happening, like a dream or a nightmare in this case.
All of that. I remember that same day just saying, like, what now? Like, what does this even mean? Like, what are you saying?
Right.
I mean, logically I knew, but you thank goodness you go into such shock, right? That it protects you.
Your body,
Yeah.
When you had to go and identify her, what happened for you?
I would say that's as broken as I've ever been. All I knew it was from the movies, right? What happens. But we walked through a door and they had her on a little monitor, but I didn't know any of that. So I walked through the door, and I actually was expecting like a window or something.
Right.
But yeah, she was on this little monitor and I collapsed. I remember crawling to her, and I just want, like, I was talking to her, and I do remember screaming, like, as I was falling. And it's that primal kind of scream that, just from the deepest part of your soul. And
Right.
it was horrific. It was like horrific.
Right. Now it's been 5 years now. And based on what I've seen and heard and read about you, you've done some deep work on yourself and some positive work. How does a person take something so deeply negative and drive their energy into creating something positive and effective after this kind of traumatic loss type of event? How does someone do that?
One step and one breath at a time. But I know you're wanting more than that. You know what? It was a choice. Like you said, it's been 5 years. It was a whole process. And but I did. I woke up one morning and I realized that I did have a choice. I could stay in the darkness,
right,
which was suffocating and was slowly killing me. Like, I felt like I was dying. Or I could decide to fight for life. And whatever that looked like, I didn't know when I made the choice. But at that time, it was like basically die in my grief or like live.
Right.
And so that's what I did. I started there, and honestly, it was little baby steps.
Right.
First, it was, keep getting up every day, go out in the sunshine, take my dogs for a walk. Like, I'm talking the very, very basics, but I kept moving.
So I guess I've seen a lot of different people, even in my own network of family and friends, who have had traumatic events happen to them. Mm-hmm. And I've seen one of two paths people take. Some people do what you do, but very rarely in my sphere of influence, let's just say, and even in public networks that I'm part of. Then there are people who are very interesting and very unique and who find that inner power. So they've gone through this massive traumatic loss just suddenly. Mm-hmm. And some people hang on to it. They hold on to it, and they hold on to it for the rest of their life until they're, some people die with it.
Yes.
So how those people get trapped in their grief. How are we supposed to, when we have this kind of a traumatic loss event in our life, release that?
Right. Well, I believe that they hold on to that so much because that's the last thing they have left of their loved one. As horrific as it was, that's the last thing.
So are you saying holding on to it's good?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not. I'm just trying to give some understanding as to why some people choose to, and I mean, they cling to it. It's like, you cannot take it away from them. But right. I've also realized too, though, a lot of it has to do with the before and the after of the trauma. So, if there was any kind of conflict and I don't necessarily mean with the loved one, but just in their world, if their world was chaotic or they were having a hard time with their loved one, that, they might cling harder, or after the trauma, if they didn't have the support and love and community. So, I mean, there's so many different factors on why somebody would do that. But,
that's very interesting that you're saying that, because it's very easy as someone on the outside to judge somebody else going through it. And, it's been 10 years or 15 years and like, okay, come on, let's snap out of it. Right. And it's easy to say that. So that's very interesting that you say that there are so many factors. I didn't really think of all those. What are all the other life factors that are causing this person to cling to the negative? Okay. Very, very interesting.
And remind them that, there are other things, if you want to call it things, other things that they can hold on to of their loved one instead of the trauma part of it.
Right.
But ultimately, the decision is theirs. In the end, everybody grieves differently and everybody deals with it differently. And you have to allow them to do that. And sometimes it's not a healthy way that they're dealing with it, like clinging on to their pain.
So couple questions. You posted about trauma, and that's one of the reasons I reached out to you. And you said that it's not the trauma that causes the changes or the good changes in your life or in our lives. It's us as individuals. So when it comes to that, do we have to imagine being grateful for the event that has happened because it inspired something in us? Or
so glad you're asking this.
Okay. So how do we put, where do we put?
Yeah. So the quick answer is no.
Okay.
You do not ever have to be grateful. I can't even fathom why there would be a little bit that I would be grateful, you know, of Katie being murdered. Now, I can be grateful or proud, if you want to call it, of the strength or my willingness to choose life over the darkness. And like that part is where you can have the gratitude. You can have the gratitude of, you know, of your support systems that are supporting you, you know, in moving forward. Because there's also, you know, there's judgment everywhere. You're not grieving enough. You're grieving too much. You know, you should get out more. You should, you know, stay home. Like,
just so many suggestions from people.
Yes. So, you know, that's where, to me, the gratitude would come in.
Okay.
But for the event itself, there, you know.
Okay, so when we're recognizing that it's not the trauma that's done the work, it's us that's done the work. So it's not that we have to be grateful that this happened. It's grateful for everything else that happened around it. Is that my phrasing there? Okay. Okay, good. Because I wasn't sure what to do with that when I read it. I'm like, wow, very interesting perspective. Very interesting perspective. Now, okay, another, you know, pinching question, okay? You became a grief and traumatic loss coach. Have people question your ethics? Like, oh, you're profiting from your daughter's death. That's pretty callous, or anything in that effect. Had that ever happened?
One time.
One time
I did have someone say that to me. And my response was, I'm doing what I searched for, that I was begging God for during that time. I needed that person that was 2 steps ahead of me. I needed that person who, you know, I could sit there and cry my tears and talk gibberish, and they would understand. They would know what I was going through. And not that counselors and like they're all great. Like 100%. So many of my friends and family have used them and have benefited. But for me personally, I didn't feel connection. You know, I tried 5 or 6 of them, and, you know, more or less just got tired of repeating my story. And then I connected with somebody that, you know, had a similar experience. And I thought, yeah, when I'm stronger, that's what I need to do.
You did a recent Warrioress photo shoot. Tell me a little bit about that, because that also caught my attention.
It was the most amazing thing to do, and I highly recommend anybody doing it, honestly. But yeah, it was like, it had been 5 years, pretty much to the anniversary. And sadly, my sister's husband died 3 weeks after Katie was murdered.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, we weren't really able to be there for each other just because we were both in our own grief. And then I decided, you know what, we need to reconnect. I missed her. I said, look, I want to do a warrior photo shoot. I think we both need to see that inner warrior that we have. You know, we've both survived something so tragic. And I think we need, like, the picture in front of us, we need to see what's inside of us on the outside. And she agreed, which actually quite shocked me. Because I told her, like, it's going to be full on. It's like makeup, hair, like costume. And
who hasn't seen that, take a look at Shannon's photo.
And
what was the purpose behind that? So it was to
It was, well, you know what? I felt that inner warrior. I wasn't too sure if she felt it. And I didn't think the outside world got it and knew that they too, like whatever their grief or struggle or trauma was, it's in there. It might be just a little tiny flame, but you know, the warrior's in there. And so we did the photo shoot, and it was amazing. Like even just our stature, and getting the photos taken and looking at the pictures now, it's like, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted. Yeah.
So it's interesting. I love that photo, and it inspired me to do something, not for myself, but with girls that I work with, because I am a coach for girls. But what's interesting is the society and the culture that I grew up in would never have supported this type of thing, simply because there's this underlying cultural expectation that if you're in grief or you have lost someone, that you need to have that always with you. So we can't, you know, enjoy life anymore, or to the way we did when they were around, especially when it's someone as close as your husband or daughter or child, like that. And I have seen so many people just sort of press stop on their life, and then just take away all those aspects. And I'm from an Indian background, and this is an actual thing in our culture, where women, for example, who lose their husbands, there's a whole whack load of things they have to follow and do in terms of cultural expectations, and it sucks.
Yes, I can imagine.
Do that. And so when I saw your post, I'm like, wow, there's this woman who's gone through all of this and no fear. I mean, I'm sure there's people who have judged you for doing.
Yeah.
And the point, what I'm trying to say is, I was inspired by that photo because of everything you've gone through, and you still did that despite any judgment that you might have to face. And with this show, we want to empower women that, you know, we can't live our lives based on what everybody else thinks. But unfortunately, it's such a conditional pattern in so many people's minds. And they need to hear stories like yours. They need to see photos like yours so that they can know, no, this is okay. And I need to do that, or I want to do that, and take steps to do that. So thank you.
You're welcome.
For putting that photo.
And if I could just say one thing to that too, it's that, you know, we have been through so much trauma, so many traumatic different things. I don't care who you are. You've been through some hard stuff.
Yes.
And at what point do you stop caring? Like I knew I needed to do this. I knew that it was important for my sister and I to do it together. And it was important for people to see it.
Right.
And so I have like stuff like people's judgment nowadays doesn't bother me. Right. I've been through hell and back. Like really, if that's all you have to do is complain about me being in a warrior costume, well, you know, good for you.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, exactly. So you're a coach now. Have you ever heard or been told or even read about this, that you need to be healed yourself first before you can heal anyone else? And what are your thoughts on this?
I have heard that, and I've read that. And I've also heard and read something similar, which I more believe in, which is you just need to be 2 steps ahead of somebody. Like if I'm going to wait until I'm healed, it's never going to happen. But I can sure help a lot of people while I'm also on my healing journey. So
absolutely, it's like you know, you have to be the perfect parent before you have a kid.
Right. Everything has to be aligned before you can. No, you'll never live your life if you do that.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it is actually a common thought process in people that, oh, you know, where you're judged. Oh, you went through all this and now you're helping people. How is that? You haven't dealt with your own SHI yet.
Which is true if you haven't.
Right. Okay.
You know, like I think there's also people out there that are so busy stuffing whatever their grief or trauma is that to the outside world they are fine. But only you know if you've actually dealt with it, because it hurts, it's painful, it's hard, it's ugly.
Right.
So if you've done the work, and you feel lighter and lighter and lighter as more work you do. So
and do you feel that getting on the journey to become a coach to help other people has been healing?
Oh,
and
100%.
Okay.
And every time that I do a talk or, speak to a class, whatever, that it heals just that little bit more. Helping heals, for sure.
Helping heals. I like that. Is that a quote by you?
Yes, there you go.
Helping heals. Theme now for that. Shannon, do you have anything else that you want to add? For example, what would be your advice to someone right now who's going through or has recently experienced traumatic loss?
If it's recent, the best advice I can give you is to be kind to yourself.
Okay.
Be gentle in every aspect. There's no have-tos. If you can't do it, then you can't do it. There's no shoulds. There's no have-tos. Drink water. I know that sounds so basic, but honestly, you need the basic, and surround yourself with people. And for the people that are helping those that are just newly grieving, you don't have to say or do anything, but be there and let them breathe. Let them feel their feelings. Let them cry. Let them yell. Let them laugh. Let them stomp their feet. Let them be. Yeah.
That's a big one. Sometimes people, like you said, don't know what to do and how to be. And that's great advice. Let them be instead of, I like to say this, shoulding all over.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? You can't fix it anyway. I think it hurts people to see their loved ones in pain when they're grieving, but you can't fix it.
Yeah.
You can't fix it.
You can just be with them. Right. That's awesome. All right. Did you have anything else to add, Shannon?
No. If I have another 20 minutes. No. I just really, really appreciate having this conversation with you. We had talked a little bit before about how a lot of people are fearful of having these conversations. And people aren't going to know the realities and the truths behind grief if we stay stuck and in the closet with it. And it's a normal part of life, sadly. And we should be able to talk about it. And the people that are grieving need to be able to talk about it because it releases some of the grief. So if people can try and be a bit more comfortable and stop saying things like time will heal or God needed another angel or like that hurts. That hurts because we think we're not doing it right and it's just one more thing. And so
I've actually heard that a lot. God needed another angel.
Yes, I have too.
Cannot imagine hearing that.
Yeah. But I mean, it is a common society thing, right? And that's with talking openly and honestly about my experience. And I want to open those conversations up and let people realize that that's old stuff. That's sweeping it under the rug and, all the terms that people use. And I have been told to please not use the word murder because
really?
Yeah.
You've been told.
Yeah. Because it's too harsh and it makes people uncomfortable. And it's like, but that's my truth.
Right, exactly. And I'm so proud of you for standing behind that. And I read that post recently about what to say and how to say it. And it does. But what you're pointing out is other people's discomfort.
Yes.
Other people's discomfort. And our job is not to cater to their so that's awesome.
Take care of yourself, be kind to yourself. Don't worry about taking care of other people's comfort levels. Take care of you.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Shannon. Shannon is a grief coach, and she is offering a free consultation for people who need help as they navigate traumatic loss. So you can book a call with Shannon by going to her website, and I'll put in a link to this post-production video. It's just conversationswithshannon.com/workwithme. She's also on Facebook.
Yes.
So free to look her up. I will be posting more information about you, about your work, Shannon, over the next several days in the Facebook group and also in other places. So please take note of that, everyone who's watching. You might not be going through traumatic loss yourself, to our viewers, I want to say, but you might know someone who needs it, who needs to deal with that. And here's the thing, it does not hurt to share information. Sometimes we get stuck in, oh, I don't want to bother anyone, I don't want to post anything to anyone and stuff, because it's just more information, but you have no idea who might reach out and get the help they need to move on with some of the most traumatic events that might be happening in their life. So it takes 2 seconds to share. And our job, again, is not to cater to other people. We might be just doing that one share, sharing Shannon's page or her website might inspire someone, 2 cities away from us to reach out for help. So, and that can change the life trajectory of someone. So I encourage people to share your work and that you're helping people through this. I'm going to end today's episode with a quote I've used before, actually. I don't know who said it, but it goes like this. The final stage of healing is allowing what happened to you to help other people. Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yes. Okay, well, thank you for everyone who's watching, and we will be posting this video onto the group as well. And thank you for being with us, Shannon.
Thank you.